Do you know how many arguments could be avoided if instead of us trying to make our point right away, get defensive, get argumentative, instead of that, we just took a second to breathe, ask some questions, and understand the other side? I'm telling you, it is more than you could imagine. And that is the topic of today's video. Seeking first to understand, not, or fuck that up, didn't I? Seeking first to understand, then to be understood, right? A lot of us try to be understood before we even understand the other side. Causes quite a bit of conflict. And by the end of this video, I want to give you some actionable strategies to improve communication skills, avoid those conflicts, get to a place of understanding, connection, and honestly, problem solving, being more effective, and all of that stuff. So, this directly comes out of a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I want to be an effective person. I'm sure you do too. So let's talk about it. I want to get into a couple of examples. Number one, sales. As you probably do know, I do sales. And I run into this quite a bit, specifically when training other people. Let's say the situation is, you're starting a sale, you explain what you do, and you're asking them for the next piece of information to, move the sale to the next checkpoint, so to speak. This is like our first down. If you think in football, we advanced. We're moving toward the end zone. Well, the customer's like, no, I don't think this is for me. And instead of seeking first to understand, without understanding, how are you going to move in that conversation? You're going to say, no, you should do it. Come on. What's your phone number? Well, that's not going to connect with the customer. The customer is going to feel overheard, spoken over, and they're not going to feel understood. They're not going to feel trust. And one of the main things that you need for somebody to do business with you is to trust you. On a side note, KLT, know, like, and trust. Customers need to feel like at least they know, like, and trust you. If they don't, they'll never do business with you. So that's what happens when you lack understanding in the conversation when it comes to sales. What would it look like with conversation, with understanding? My words are not with me today. With understanding, what are you going to ask? You're going to ask a question you don't understand fully. Well, what's stopping you from signing up today? What's stopping you from making this purchase today? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. Well, actually, the price is really fucking high. Oh, well, yeah, I knew that. But that's why we have payment plans. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah. It's actually really affordable for most people. I was just helping a couple yesterday with the same issue. Yeah, we can talk about that. Don't even worry about that. That is not going to be the main concern by any stretch of the imagination. But what's your phone number? We'll see if we can even help in the first place. Now, all of a sudden, wow, I'm making progress. I asked the question I understood, and I was easily able to overcome that objection because I got the information I needed. Now, if I didn't take that step by asking that question and trying to understand, never would have closed the sale. Never would have even started the sale. So that's how this affects sales, right? If you avoid trying to understand the other person, they're going to feel like they're being talked over. There's no trust. And it reminds me of the quote, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's how it affects sales. How does this concept affect relationships? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you're seeking to understand. So with relationships, let's say there's a situation. I'm trying to read off my notes because I want to make sure I get this right. Relationships. Partner says, you never prioritize me. This is so bullshit. And you feel the urge to say, well, what the fuck are you talking about? I just set up our date last week. I never prioritize you. What the fuck? But notice how I'm already starting an argument if I was to go that route. So let's talk about it. If I wasn't to go the route of trying to understand first and instead be understood, well, what do you think I'm going to say? What the fuck are you talking about? I said, I'm just playing. But seriously, I'm going to start this, argumentative conversation and start to be, or try to be understood rather than understanding. And it's going to lead to a conflict. My partner's going to feel not understood. And guess what? No sexy fun time tonight. We don't want that. So Instead, we want to have understanding. How do I get to a place of understanding? Well, even though I feel the urge to say, what are you talking about? I set up a date last week. Instead, I say, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I didn't even realize that. Can you tell me more about how or how I make you feel like I don't prioritize you? Because I don't want you to feel that way. She shares, and we come to a point of agreement. You know what? I didn't notice that. I can definitely do better in that area. Or maybe we come to a point of agreement where it's like, I hear her out, or you hear her out, whoever, whatever. Conversation goes. And then she realizes, as you try to understand, you know what? Actually, maybe you do prioritize me. I'm sorry. Problem solved. Guess what? Sexy fun time's happening tonight. So you want to make sure that you're coming from a place of understanding, and it's going to put you in a situation to be able to find the solution. In all of relationships, most arguments aren't really based on fact. It's more based on feeling. And so if somebody's addressing, and I'm not the greatest at this by any means, just sharing the idea, if somebody's sharing that they don't feel, ideal, we want to address that. Well, I'm sorry you don't feel that way. Why? Instead of arguing that you should feel this way or whatever, that's how most arguments start. And what guys will tend to do, myself included, is just list off the facts. You can't feel that way. That's bullshit, right? But you need to understand the feeling, or at least try to. And simply creating the atmosphere of I'm trying to understand can sometimes make the feeling go away in and of itself. Because when people feel understood, what argument is going to come from that? I feel like you understand. How am I going to be mad at that? I can't. So that's how it affects relationships. I want to read the rest of this note real quick. All right, cool. On to the next point, friendships. How does this affect friendships? Well, let's say situation is, I wrote really small, so give me a sec. Friend says that you are distant, but you've been grinding. You've been working on a business. You've been shooting for the stars with a new business idea, and really, that's consumed your whole life. That's been what your focus is, number one. And your friend says you're so distant, and you immediately feel the urge. You're like, well, bro, I'm grinding out here. What are you doing? Notice how, again, I'm seeking to make my point to be understood rather than seeking first to understand. So very similar to in a relationship aspect. Well, in this situation, if I'm leading with understanding, I'm asking, well, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. Well, what makes you feel like I'm distant? Well, dude, you haven't even, responded to the group chat. You haven't even, reached out or anything. I feel like, I miss hanging out with you. Oh, I'm sorry, bro. I've just been working on my goals. Yeah, let's meet up this week. I can tell you all about it. I can tell you all about it. Sorry, I don't speak the best. It's been a weird day. But that's how you want to, approach the friendships when it comes to building understanding rather than leading with, your own point. Instead, understand the other person's point. It's going to put you in a point of, agreement. And then you can, problem solve from there. You can both be on the same team rather than against each other. And you're a lot more productive, a lot more effective. And everybody's going to like you more, honestly. So let's flip over. I got more notes. We just getting started. Just kidding. We're actually heading toward that end. But the biggest takeaway here is that sometimes people are not trying to attack you. Just because you perceive it that way doesn't mean that's what their intent is. And instead of becoming defensive and trying to make your point, known, you want to shift the conversation from a point of conflict to a point of connection, putting both of yourselves on the same team. All relationships benefit, whether this is in a sale, whether this is in a significant other type of relationship, or in a friendship, or any other relationship for that matter. So, with that being said, I challenge you. Next time you're in a situation, whether it's a sale, a conversation with a friend, or just any situation where you feel conflict is about to start, instead of trying to make your own point known, seek to understand the other person's point of view. And when you do that, I guarantee you, you're going to find a solution that you didn't even think was going to happen. You're going to find out that person wasn't even coming from a place of negativity most of the time. Now, sometimes you will. That'll be a fun story to tell. And even better, a better place to tell it is in the comments of this video. I hope this helps. I have such a corny line to end this video, but I'm going to end it on that line because I like to have fun. Using the strategies, the things I talked about in this video will not only make you more effective, it will make you more respected and more connected. So corny, I hate it, but I love you. Have a good one.